Weather, everyone. This is Holloway with the National Weather Service. Thanks for joining us. As always, your local weather information, watch warnings, and advisories for your part of Alaska is available by dialing the 1-800 number or visiting the web page listed on the screen. And lastly, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us at the email listed at the bottom of the page. For the hazardous weather, we do have some advisories to talk about for the lower and middle Yukon as well as the Fairbanks area. And winter weather advisories are out until 3 p.m. on Thursday for that area, and basically that's for 4 to 7 inches of snowfall. Also, we have some winter weather advisories out until 6 a.m. on Thursday for St. Lawrence Island and portions of the Seward Peninsula, and that extends up there just northeast of Kotzebue. Lastly, we also have some wind chill warnings up there along the northwest coast or the Beaufort Sea coast and Chukchi Sea coast, and that's going until 6 p.m. on Friday. Lastly, we have some high wind warnings out for portions of the Panhandle, and those are going to be going until 6 p.m. this evening. So please check those watch and warnings and advisories. Moving on to the satellite information, you can see the low pressing through the Gulf of Alaska and will be crossing into Canada here shortly, but otherwise some scattered snow showers across much of the southern mainland and maybe some rain showers across the southern end of the Panhandle, lower elevations there. Further inland there will be some snow showers, and lastly there may be a little bit of snow shower activity along an occluded front out there in the Aleutians, but we'll be looking at that here shortly. We might also have some blowing and drifting snow along the north slope there with some high winds and cold temperatures still remaining up there. So what does this look like on the surface map? 984 millibar low there in the Gulf with moderate to heavy rain at low elevations, the outside coast there on the Panhandle, and that extends up into the northeast Gulf Coast. Otherwise, snow showers further inland across the Panhandle and across much of the southern mainland and down through the Bristol Bay, and also across the interior with light to moderate snow showers in some areas of the central mainland. And there's that blowing snow across the north slope there, and there's the occluded front out there in the central Bering Sea with mixed precipitation across the Aleutians, and that extends over to the Alaska Peninsula. For tonight's weather, that low crosses the Panhandle at 990 millibar low there. Still some lingering light to moderate rain showers associated with that system. Snow showers further inland across the Panhandle. Otherwise, stationary front across the interior. Continued snow showers along that boundary. Otherwise, some mixed precipitation across the Alaska Peninsula. And that low in the Aleutians down 992 millibar low with areas of mixed precipitation, snow showers as you get into the western Aleutians and central Bering. And that low moves further east by Thursday, 994 millibar low, and that stationary front remaining across the interior with snow showers associated with that system. Otherwise, some lingering rain and snow showers across the Panhandle, mixed precipitation in the Alaska Peninsula region, and rain showers across the central and eastern Aleutians. For Friday, that low in the Aleutians crosses into the Bering, 1000 millibar low there. Snow showers associated with that system across much of the Bering Sea and into the central and western Aleutians. And that low, next low moving into the YK Delta, Bristol Bay region with some snow showers, that boundary remaining across the interior. And rain showers across portions of the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island. And finally, a few lingering snow showers there in the Panhandle. For low temperatures on Thursday morning, we're going to be looking at 38 in Ketchikan, 37 in Sitka, 32 in Juneau, 34 in Yakutat, 21 in Valdez, 22 in Anchorage, 30 in King Salmon, and 20 in Talkeetna. Moving up to the North Slope, we're going to be seeing minus 36 in Kaktovik, minus 32 in Ukqiavik, Point Hope minus 19, and AKwx Pass minus 14, Fort Yukon minus 17, Eagle 4 minus 6 in Fairbanks, minus 3 in Galena, minus 8 in Nome. Down through the Southwest and Aleutians, as well as the Alaska Peninsula, Bethel 17, 27 in Dillingham, Cold Bay 35, Dutch Harbor 37, Shemya 34, 33 in St. Paul, And moving back down to the Gulf region for Thursday afternoon, high temperatures 41 in Ketchikan, 40 in Sitka, 35 in Haines, 39 in Yakutat, Valdez 35, 30 in Talkeetna, 31 in Anchorage, 42 in King Salmon. Back up to the North Slope, minus 26 for a high in Kaktovik, minus 21 in Ukqiavik, minus 13 in Point Hope, and AKwx Pass minus 6. Then we got Arctic Village at minus 6 as well, minus 7 Fort Yukon, 8 in Fairbanks, 15 in Eagle, 16 in Northway, Galena 12, 2 in Nome. Down through the Southwest and Alaska Peninsula, Aleutians, looking at 22 for Bethel, 36 in Dillingham, 41 in Cold Bay, 46 in Dutch Harbor, 36 in Shemya, and 36 in St. Paul. Back over to the Gulf region for Friday morning, 36 in Ketchikan, 33 in Sitka, 29 in Juneau, 29 in Yakutat, Valdez 20, 15 in Talkeetna, 18 in Anchorage, 31 in King Salmon. Back up to the North Slope for low temperatures Friday morning, minus 37 in Kaktovik, minus 29 in Ukqiavik, minus 20 in Point Hope, minus 22 in AKwx Pass, Fort Yukon minus 20, Eagle minus 3, minus 4 at Fairbanks, minus 15 in Galena, minus 18 in Nome, minus 20 in Savunga. And down through the Southwest, we're looking at 8 in Bethel, 30 in Dillingham, 36 in Cold Bay, Dutch Harbor 38, 34 in Shemya, 34 in St. Paul. Back over to Gulf region, looking at high temperatures Friday afternoon, 41 in Ketchikan, 42 in Sitka, Haines 33, 36 in Yakutat, 32 in Valdez, 27 in Talkeetna, 28 in Anchorage, 43 in Kodiak, 44 in King Salmon, 32 in Lime Village, and 23 in McGrath. For high temperatures Friday afternoon for the interior and North Slope, minus 27 in Kaktovik, minus 20 in Ukqiavik, minus 12 in Point Hope, minus 11 in AKwx Pass, minus 9 in Arctic Village, minus 5 in Fort Yukon, minus 16 in Eagle, 14 in Fairbanks, 4 in Galena, minus 1 in minus 1 in Nome. And what else we got? We got Grayling at 10, and down through the Southwest, we're looking at 26 in Bethel, Dillingham 36, Cold Bay 41, Dutch Harbor 41, Shemya 35, St. Paul 35, and Lime Village 32, 4 in Galena, 10 in Grayling, Emonic 4, 22 in 27 in Kipnuk, and minus 10 in Savunga, and 43 in Kodiak, 40 in Homer, 29 in Kenai, and 27 in Talkeetna.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the aviation forecast, starting with the flying weather for Thursday morning. We'll be watching a system pull through the interior and exit the panhandle. Otherwise, some areas of IFR conditions throughout much of the mainland, in through the interior, down through the southwest YK Delta, into the Bristol Bay region. Also some areas of IFR conditions there in the central Aleutians, otherwise some marginal conditions along the north slope. For Thursday afternoon, that system exits the interior, but still some IFR conditions in there, especially around the Yukon River Basin, the upper and middle Yukon, and then into the Brooks Range and down through portions of the Alaska Range. Otherwise, we're watching the next system come into the Aleutians for Thursday afternoon. IFR conditions spread out through the southern end of the Alaska Peninsula into the eastern Aleutians, and some improving conditions across the Gulf and into the Panhandle with IFR conditions along the coastal mountains. For Friday morning, next system pulling into the southwest, IFR conditions through much of the Bering Sea, Alaska Peninsula, and some lingering IFR conditions through the interior. Otherwise, some still decent flying conditions on Friday morning for the Panhandle and northern Gulf. Some IFR conditions along the coastal mountains. And Friday afternoon, the system pulls into the southwest even further, looking at IFR conditions extensively through much of the YK Delta and the Alaska Peninsula and the Kodiak Island, northern Gulf. Otherwise, some improving conditions in the interior with just lingering marginal conditions there, and some lingering marginal conditions over the southern end of the Panhandle. For past conditions, mixed bag across the state. Otherwise, for Wednesday, Anaktuvik Pass, marginal improving to VFR. Adigan went for IFR conditions there. Lake Clark and Merrill went for marginal, but looked for IFR conditions on the western entrance. And for Rainy Pass, IFR conditions. Windy, IFR improving to marginal. Isabel, same thing. And Metasta, look like marginal conditions will prevail down there. And Tanita, IFR improving to marginal. And Portage, IFR improving to marginal. Chilcoot went for marginal conditions in the Panhandle. Passes. So on freezing levels, Thursday morning, looking at surface freezing level, much like yesterday, cutting across the Panhandle into the northern Gulf region and eastern side of the Kenai Peninsula, and over into the Alaska Peninsula and out through the Bering Sea, and to get into the Gulf and northern Pacific to find some elevated freezing levels. For icing conditions on Thursday, looking at between 5 and 10,000 feet, mainly over the mainland and Panhandle, with areas of considerable moderate associated with those systems passing in and through, and also between 4 and 9,000 feet out there in the eastern Aleutians and Bering Sea. For jet stream, on Thursday, 165 knots coming across the Bristol Bay region into the southern end of the Cook Inlet, 165 knots there. Otherwise, in the Anchorage area, 70 knots in there. And down through the Panhandle, winds generally from a northerly direction at 60 knots, north slope light and variable. And otherwise, over into the Aleutians, around ridge high pressure in the Pacific, 140 knots coming across the central Aleutians in that region. For 9,000 foot winds on Thursday, low pressure across the northern portions of the mainland. And then what do we have here? We got northerly winds across much of the Panhandle, 50 to 45 knots there. In the Anchorage Bowl area, 30 knots. And down through the southwest, pick up in some of the winds speeds there. Bristol Bay region, anywhere between 50 and 55, and you get stronger winds across the eastern Aleutians into the Alaska Peninsula with 80 to 85 knots down there. For 3,000 foot winds on Thursday, low pressure systems across much of the mainland into the Canada. Otherwise, northerly winds again across the Panhandle, 45 knots in there. 35 knots across the Bristol Bay region, and 45 knots around clockwise flow around that low pressure system in the western Aleutians. And lastly, for turbulence on Thursday, below 6,000 feet across the Panhandle, below 4,000 feet in the Bristol Bay region, and below 3,000.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm Dave Snyder, and joining me today is Cindy Preller. She's the Tsunami Program Manager for Alaska Region's National Weather Service. And Cindy, we hear a lot about tsunamis in the news, probably a lot more than we used to, but let's remind everybody, what is a tsunami?
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Sure.
Tsunami is basically, it's really simple. It's just a disturbance in the water column. So the entire water column from the seafloor to the sea surface is disturbed by something major, usually a major earthquake. But it can also be a volcanic eruption, even an asteroid. Landslide is especially dangerous.
Okay, so if I'm sitting in my bathtub and I drop a bath toy, that could be a bathtub tsunami.
It is absolutely a bathtub tsunami.
Okay, very good. So Alaska is one of the states, or maybe the state, with the greatest amount of coastline, so tsunamis are a pretty major risk here in Alaska. Who is most at risk?
Yeah, Alaska is significant. We actually make most of the Pacific's tsunamis on the Aleutian Trench, and it's where the Pacific plate is subducting underneath the American plate, and we produce some very large, great quakes, and of course the most at risk is the Aleutian Trench.
Okay.
But that extends into south central Alaska as well. They're at huge risk, and then southeast Alaska's risk is really mostly landslide focused.
Okay. Are there any places along the Alaskan coastline that don't have a tsunami risk, or at least a very, very low risk?
Absolutely. The Bering Sea's risk is very low, and the Arctic's risk is very low as well.
Okay, so when we're talking about tsunami dangers, those are places that need to be monitored, but probably not really.
No, I mean, I won't say never.
Yeah, sure.
Because I know better.
Science knows better.
Right. So,
very good.
Near to never.
Okay. Well, let's just say you're on the coast, anywhere in Alaska. What are warning signs that tsunami dangers are threatening you right now?
This is super important because Alaska's greatest risk, especially out on the Aleutians and South Central, is a near-field tsunami, and then of course the landslides in southeast. It's even more intense because we can't.
So shorter warning time.
No warning time.
Okay.
The earthquake is the warning.
Okay.
And that is the most important thing for anybody to remember. The water can arrive in less than 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, at the National Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, we need to get the warning out in 5 minutes. So for those near-field tsunamis, it's the earthquake is the warning. So if you feel shaking, and of course the first thing you do is drop, cover, and hold, and you need to start counting slowly to 20.
The right way. How do you do that?
Oh, I teach kids to do it with their favorite things. So 1 chocolate, 2 chocolate, 3 chocolate, but you can count anything you like. And if you're thinking of something happy, that helps. Especially helps kids, but it'll help your psyche.
So you don't speed up because you're getting stressed out.
Right. It actually lowers your heart rate.
Interesting.
You know, so if you think of something you love and practice that. So you're in an earthquake, you're under the table, you're next to the ocean. Right. This is important if you're next to the ocean. If you're not next to the ocean, don't worry about it. Just stay in place under cover.
And you're talking about a mile, a quarter mile? What's close?
A mile, even a couple miles. You know, our rule of thumb used to be a mile inland was safe, but the last few tsunamis have taught us otherwise. So, yeah, you know, in Japan we had inundation up to 10 miles.
Right.
So.
And that was a big quake.
That was a big quake.
So you have a quake, you're counting slowly to 20.
To 20.
What's next?
And if you get to 20 and it's still shaking, you need to evacuate.
Okay.
And that is, that's scary.
Yeah.
Because you're evacuating in a live event that's still shaking. You know, 1964 shook for 4.5 minutes. Indonesia shook for 12 minutes.
Wow. Right.
Japan, I think, shook for 6. I'm not sure of that, but it was long. Anyway, more than 20 seconds.
And that's a sign of a very major earthquake, the worst.
Well, 20 seconds is a magnitude 7, so that's not the worst. But what a magnitude 7 can do is trigger a landslide. And those landslides might be a submarine landslide, so you won't see it, you won't hear it, you won't know it, and then the water's moving. So that's really, really, really dangerous. That's what happened in '64 first. Seward, Valdez, Whittier all had landslides first.
And when you're talking about the water is a warning sign too. What happens with the water that gives you a very easy visual sign that something's changing?
Not guaranteed. It might go out, it might go way out really fast enough to leave the fish behind, but that's not guaranteed. It might just be a fast flood instead. So either way, if it's acting like a super fast rising tide, faster than a tide should rise, get out of there. And if it goes out really fast, get out of there. You know, we lost a lot of lives because people will go check out the new tide pools or
Sure.
pick up fish or shells or, you know, so, and it should feel weird.
Right.
You know, it should be weird.
So pay attention to those natural warning signs and how you feel, because those are maybe the only clues you have.
Right, and you know, sound also. You can hear a tsunami. It'll sound like a roaring train, maybe.
Okay.
Or it might sound silent because the water's been pulled out.
Right.
And that's pretty weird. Imagine camping
Yeah.
at night
Yeah.
near the beach, and all of a sudden you don't hear the ocean anymore.
That would be different.
That would be weird.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you also might hear blowing bubbles, and that's actually from the pressure that's blowing the air out from the sand grains, rock grains.
Interesting.
So if you hear blowing bubbles, that's a little weird.
Okay.
Or clinking rocks, you know, like a rain stick. So those are the sound signs. So the visual is rushing in or rushing out, and roaring especially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of work to get people and keep people aware of what the tsunami warning signs are and what their risks are around Alaska. And there's a website that can help them do that. Where can they go online to get more information for their school, their home, their church, their business?
Oh, there's several. The National Tsunami Warning Center has a website as well, and the easiest way to look that up is just NTWC.
NTWC.
The URL is not intuitive at all.
Okay.
There's also ready.alaska.gov. The state of Alaska has a lot of helpful stuff. Preparedness kits. They have everything you need to get ready.
Okay.
And then for teachers and others, there's a wonderful curriculum called Alaska Tsunami Education Program.
Alaska Tsunami Education Program. Okay.
And that's AKwx.
AKwx. Okay, very good. Those are really good tips to get more information and search that out and help your own community stay safe with the threat of tsunamis around Alaska. Next time we come back and talk to you some more about the Tsunami Ready program and get more in depth and how people can learn more about the risks and what to do here in Alaska. So thank you for joining us today, Cindy. And next time on Alaska Weather Facts, more on tsunamis around Alaska. We'll see you next time.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the marine forecast, starting with the ice edge. We have some ice, first year thin ice developing in the Cook Inlet region. We also have some shore-fast ice developing in the sound regions of Norton and Kotzebue Sound, also in the Bristol Bay region. Forecaster I talked to today said that he expects some further extent of the ice edge moving south over the next several days. For the marine forecast for southeast on Thursday, inside waters generally from a variable direction, 10 to 25, seas as high as 14 feet of the Clarence Strait region. Outside waters, winds generally from the west at 35 to 50 with gusts to 65, and that will create storm warnings for this afternoon and into tonight for that region of the outside waters. For Friday's forecast for southeast, inside waters looking at northerly winds 15 to 20, seas as high as 4 feet. Outside waters, winds generally from a northeasterly direction, 30 to 35 with seas as high as 20 feet. Probably some gales out there on Friday. For south central on Thursday, Gulf region winds generally from the west at 45, seas as high as 17 feet. So look for gales to storm force winds out there. And then for Prince William Sound, winds generally from the west at 15, seas as high as 3 feet. Cook Inlet region, winds generally from the west at 10 to 40 with seas as high as 16 feet. So look for gale or storm force winds out there. Then for Friday, south central Gulf region, winds generally from a southwesterly direction, 20 to 25, seas as high as 10 feet. And for Prince William Sound, winds from a northeasterly direction, 10 with seas as high as 2 feet. Cook Inlet region, winds generally from the north at 10 to 25 with seas as high as 5 feet. For Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, on Kodiak Island, winds generally from the west at 35 to 40 with seas as high as 15. So look for gale to storm force winds in there. Otherwise, south side of the Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the southwest at 30 with seas as high as 15. And winds on the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from a southerly direction up to 30 with seas as high as 13 feet. For Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island on Friday, winds around Kodiak Island, winds from a southwesterly direction at 25 to 30 with seas as high as 13 feet, and south side of the Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the southwest at 30 with seas as high as 14, and north side of the peninsula, winds generally from the south at 20 to 30 with seas as high as 9 feet. For the Aleutian chain on Thursday, winds generally from a southerly direction, 25 to 30 with seas as high as 21 feet. And for Friday, for the Aleutians, looking at winds generally from a westerly direction at 20 to 30 with seas as high as 16 feet across the region. For Thursday's west coast, looks like winds are going to be generally out of the north at 15 to 30 with seas as high as 13 feet near the Pribilofs. And for Friday's west coast forecast, winds generally from a northerly direction with 20 to 35 with seas as high as 12 feet just south of the ice edge there. For Arctic coast, for the Beaufort Sea coast there, winds generally from a northeasterly direction, 20 to 25. Chukchi Sea coast, winds generally from a northeasterly direction, 30 to 35, and down through the Bering Strait, winds generally from a northerly direction, 30. And for on Friday, Beaufort Sea coast, winds generally from a northerly direction, actually more from a westerly or northwesterly direction, 20 to 25, and down through the Chukchi Sea coast, 30 to 35, and down through the Bering Strait, winds generally in the north at 30. For tonight's weather, we'll be seeing a low across the Panhandle with moderate rain showers across the lower elevations of the Panhandle, snow showers further inland, and snow showers across much of the interior and southern mainland along the stationary boundary, and an occluded front stretching out through the central Bering with a 992 millibar low near the western Aleutians. And for Thursday's weather, that frontal band continue to extend through the interior with snow showers lingering across that region and into the southern Brooks Range, and lingering snow showers across the Panhandle, especially across the lower elevations, and snow showers further inland, and mixed precipitation across much of the Aleutians and into the Alaska Peninsula with that 994 millibar low moving further east.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.